Very good afternoon to all of you. In my previous lectures of fundamental right, I have discussed up to Article 15, Clause 3 of the Constitutions, and today's lectures I will continue onwards. Just to recap your old memories, what I have discussed under Article 15, Clause 3 of the Constitution, that it provides that nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provisions for women and children. So, if you see the provisions of Article 15, Clause 3 of the Constitution, then previous lecture I said that this is the provisions which must be extensively used by the government and as well as by the Parliament. So this is the provision which is having the potentials of not only the empowerment of the women, but this can also be used for protecting the women against the violence which is being committed against her in perpetuity. And as far as this provision is concerned, if you see the case of the Dataria versus State, where the Bombay High Court held that under these provisions, it would not be violative of Article 15 if the educational institutions are established by the state exclusively for the women. So similarly, reservations for women in college does not offend the Article 15 Clause 1 of the Constitution. So if any, because Article 15 Clause 1 prohibit the state from making any kind of discriminations on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. But under these provisions, it enables the state to give the preferential treatment to women as well as the children. And if any kind of the preferential treatment has been given to women and children, then it will not amount to any kind of reservations, because reservations normally amount to the reserving the certain number of seats for special category of the persons. Now I am coming to the clause 4 of Article 15 of the Constitution. It deals with the special provisions for the advancement of the backward classes. It says that nothing in this article or clause 2 of Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any special provisions for advancement of any socially and educationally backward class of citizens, or for the scheduled caste or for scheduled tribes. So this Article 15 Clause 4 is one of the exceptions of the Clause 1 and 2 of the Article 15. And originally this provision was not in the constitutions. It was being added in the constitutions by the Constitution's First Amendment Act, just to overcome the difficulty which was created by the Supreme Court decisions in Champakai Dorai Rajan case. What happened in Champakai Dorai Rajan case is that the Madras government had reserved seat in the State Medical Engineering College for the various community on the basis of the religion, race, caste, etc. And it was being contended by the state that this law was being enacted with a view to promote the social justice for the all sections of society as provided under Article 46 of the Constitution. If you see the provisions of Article 46 of the Constitution, it obligates the state to promote with the special care the educational and economic interest of the weaker sections of the peoples, and in particulars of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So in this case, the issue before the court was regarding whether the directive principle of state policy can be given primacy over the fundamental right. But what the court said that when they have to decide about the justiciable right and non-justiciable right, then that case court will be duty bound to enforce the justiciable right, and the fundamental right which is being provided by the Part 3 of the Constitution has been specifically made a justiciable right. But as far as the directive principle of state policy is concerned, because of the provisions of Article 37 of the Constitution, it is specifically made non-justiciable. So what the Supreme Court said that the directive principle of state policy cannot be given primacy over the fundamental right, and this Madras government order by which the seat are being reserved in medical engineering college on the basis of religion, race, caste is violative of the equality clause provided under Article 14 of the Constitution as well as under Article 15 of the Constitution. So just to overcome the difficulty which was created by the Supreme Court decision in Champakai Dwarajan case, the Parliament decided to amend the Constitutions, and the Constitution's very first Amendment Act, the clause 4 to Article 15 was being added. And the other compelling reason which forced the Parliament to enact this provision was that when the Constitution was being enacted, at that point of time, the slogan was being raised that in this Constitution there is nothing for the depressed and exploited section of society. So Parliament has reacted and responded immediately, and the Parliament had decided to incorporate the clause 4 to Article 15, which empowered the state to make a special provisions for socially and educationally backward class of citizens as well as for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. If you see the provisions of clause 4 of Article 15 of the Constitution, it is a merely enabling provisions, and it does not impose any kind of obligation on the state to take any special action under it. So it merely confer a discretion on the state. So if the state wants, then the state can provide the preferential treatment to the persons belonging to the socially and educationally backward class as well as for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So with respect to the interpretations of clause 4 to Article 15 is concerns, the first thing you have to keep in mind regarding that who are entitled to the claim benefit under these provisions. If you see the verbatim of the clause 4 of Article 15 of the Constitution, here the persons who are entitled to claim benefit must be proved to be socially and educationally backward class. If they are socially backward class, then they will not entitled to claim benefit. If they are merely educationally backward class, then still they will not be entitled to claim benefit. Just to claim the benefit, if it is being provided by state, it must be conclusively proved that the targeted group are socially and educationally backward class. And the other beneficiary under this provision are the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So the two most contentious issue which has arisen with respect to the applications of Article 15 clause 4 is that who are the socially and educationally backward class, and second, what are the limit of reservations. As far the term backward class is concerned, the term backward class is not being defined in the constitutions, but if you see the provisions of Article 340 of the Constitution, it empowered the President to appoint a commissions to investigate the conditions of the socially and educationally backward class of the backward classes, and this commission is required to interact with the respective state government, and after interacting with the respective state government, the commission will give the recommendations to the President. So on the basis of the recommendations of the commissions, the President will notify as to who will be considered as socially and educationally backward class. However, the decisions of the President with respect to these notifications are justiciable, and it will be open for the court to consider whether such classification are being based on some intelligible and tangible principles or it is arbitrary in nature. If it is arbitrary in nature, definitely in that case it is liable to be struck down. As far the interpretations of these provisions are concerned, the first case in which the Supreme Court has extensively examined the nature and scope of Article 15 clause 4 is the Balaji versus State of Mysore case way back in 1963. In this case, the Mysore government has issued order under Article 15 clause 4 of the Constitution reserving seat in medical and engineering college, and the reservation which was being provided under that order was that out of the total seat, 28% seat was being reserved for the backward class, 20% seat was being reserved for the more backward class, 18% seat was being reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So as per the result of such governmental notifications, out of the total seat, 68% seat was being reserved for the various reserve category, and only 32% seat was being available for the general category. The constitutionality of this government order was being challenged in Balaji case, and in the Balaji case the Supreme Court has given the certain guidelines. The first prominent guidelines which was given by the Supreme Court in Balaji case was that the sub-classifications made by the order between the backward class and more backward class was not justified under Article 15 clause 4 of the Constitution. The second thing which the Supreme Court said that the backward class as envisaged by Article 15 clause 4 must be both social and educational and not either social or educational. And the third thing which the Supreme Court said that though the caste may be a relevant factors but it cannot be a sole factor for ascertaining whether a particular class is a backward class or not. So apart from the caste, the poverty, occupations, place of habitations may all be relevant factors which may be taken into considerations before classifying any caste as a backward class. And the fourth thing which the Supreme Court said regarding the Article 15 Clause 4 is that the Article 15 Clause 4 does not speak of the caste, but it speaks of the class. So the caste and class are not synonymous. So, and regarding the limit of reservation, the Supreme Court said the total reservation should not exceed the 50%, and it will be how much less than 50%, that will depend upon the relevant prevailing circumstances in each case. So these were some of the findings which was given by the Supreme Court in Balaji case, but some of the observations which was given by the Supreme Court in Balaji case is also very relevant. One of the most important observation was that which the Supreme Court said that the state would not be justified in ignoring altogether the advancement of the rest of the society in a zeal to promote the welfare of the backward classes. And the Supreme Court also cautioned that the national interest would suffer if the qualified and competent student were excluded from admissions in institutions of higher education. Though all the finding of the Supreme Court in Balaji case is not subsequently being approved, and Mandal case, most of the finding of the Balaji case is being disapproved by the Supreme Court. The detailed aspect, the provisions which was being disapproved, that I will take up when I will discuss the Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution. So after the Balaji case, the next important case in which the Supreme Court has occasions to consider the scope of Article 15 Clause 4 is the A. Pariya Karupan versus State of Tamil Nadu in 1971. In this case, the Supreme Court said that the classification of backward class on the basis of caste is well within the purview of Article 15 Clause 4, provided those castes are shown to be socially and educationally backward. So here the Balaji case, the Supreme Court said that caste and class are not synonymous. But in Periya Karupan case, somehow the Supreme Court has inched towards the clubbing the caste with the class. And but the Supreme Court again cautioned this case that by advising the government that they should not proceed on the premises that once the class is considered a backward, it should continue to be backward class for all the times. Such approach would defeat the very purpose of reservations. So if any caste has been classified the socially and educationally backward class, and if they have been given preferential treatment, but because of the advancement of time, if that caste has reached a certain degree of the advancement, then definitely in that case the government will be justified in excluding that class from intended category of the beneficiary. After Periya Karupan case, again the Supreme Court has occasions to examine the scope of Article 15 Clause 4 in State of Andhra Pradesh versus V. Balram case. In this case, Supreme Court reiterated the view that the caste of the persons cannot be sole test for ascertaining whether a particular class or community is a backward class or not, but if an entire caste is in fact found to be socially and educationally backward class, then their inclusion in the list of the backward class is not violative of Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution. So in this way, the Supreme Court has tried to define the scope of the Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution. As far as the class is concerned, the other interesting case which came before the Supreme Court in 1975 is the State of UP versus Pradeep Tandon case. In this case, the government of UP has issued order where the various seat is being reserved for the persons coming from the rural areas as well as for the persons coming from the hill and Uttarakhand areas. In this case, the court said that if any reservation is being provided under Article 15 Clause 4 for the persons coming for the rural area, is a violative of Article 15 Clause 1 of the Constitution, as well as it is arbitrary in nature. But if any reservation is being provided for the persons coming from the Uttarakhand or hill areas, then that case it is because these regions are the instance of the backward regions, so that can be constitutionally done. Again, in 1981, in Aarti versus State of J&K, where the Supreme Court has struck down the governmental order, where the government has decided to reserve the certain seat for rectifications of regional imbalance. What the court said in this case is that without identifying the areas suffering from such regional imbalance, such kind of reservations cannot be provided. There has to be concrete data on the basis of which the government may decide to take such kind of formative actions. They cannot proceed merely on the premises as well as the presumptions. Then again in Sunil Jaitley versus State of Haryana case in 1984, where the government order for reserving seat for the student coming from the student who has done their schooling from the rural area was being struck down by the Supreme Court. The other things which is very relevant with respect to Article 15 Clause 4 regarding that the relaxations of the minimum qualifying marks for admissions for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. If you see the Nivedita Jain versus State of MP case in 1981, here in this case, government has reserved a certain number of seats for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. But after the entrance examination, the sufficient number of the candidate of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes was not available. So just to accommodate the candidate of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, the government decided to relax the minimum qualifying marks. And this government order of relaxing minimum qualifying marks was being challenged in State of MP versus Nivedita Jain. But in this case, the Supreme Court upheld the validity of the executive order of the state government, which has completely relaxed the minimum qualifying marks in a pre-medical examinations for selections of students in medical colleges of the state in respect of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. As far the Supreme Court also had the occasions to examine the regulations 20 of the Act, which empower the state government to relax the minimum qualifying marks in case of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes if the required number of the candidates are not available in those categories. The Supreme Court has analyzed the regulations 2 of the Medical Council of India, and relating to that, the court said that the conditions relating to minimum qualifying marks was merely directly in nature and not mandatory. So hence the executive order completely relaxing the minimum qualifying marks is not violative of the regulations, and it is not violative of Article 15 Clause 4. But the observations which was given by the Supreme Court in Nivedita Jain case, that is very pertinent. What the court said that under Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution, state is obliged to do everything possible for the upliftment of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward communities. So regarding the undergraduate medical courses in Nivedita Jain case, this case is still relevant, and state government will be justified in relaxing the minimum qualifying marks if the sufficient number of the candidates are not available in the reserve category. Of course, the critics has criticized this judgment by saying that once the minimum qualifying marks has been fixed by the government, then they should not tinker with such minimum qualifying marks, because it will have the direct bearing with respect to that particular professions as well as the merit. But still, this is the law of the land, and the government will justify. Then other pertinent issue regarding the relaxing of the minimum marks regarding the providing reservation in the super specialty course. With respect to the super specialty course, Dr. Preeti Sagar Srivastava versus State of MP case, the Supreme Court has given the clear-cut guidelines that it is purely the merit and not the quota that will be tested for admissions in the super specialty course in the medical engineering. In the Preeti Sagar Srivastava case, the Supreme Court has laid down the certain guidelines. The first guidelines was that the merit alone can be the criteria for selecting a student to the super specialty course in the medical engineering, and at the level of the admission to the super specialty course, no special provisions are permissible. The second thing which the court said in this case is that the special opportunity which is provided by reservations cannot, however, be made available to those who are substantially below the levels prescribed for the general category candidate. The third thing which the court said that it will not be possible for such candidate to fully benefit from very limited and specialized postgraduate training opportunity which are desired to produce the high caliber, well-trained professionals for the benefit of the public. And moreover, the opportunity of such trainings are being very few. It would be in national interest that these were made available to those who would profit from them the most. That is, the best brain of the country should be entitled to avail the facility. So as far the super specialty course are concerned, the reservations, any kind of reservations will not be available, and the merit will be the sole criteria for selections of a student for taking admissions in such programs. Regarding the Article 15 Clause 4, the one more thing which has agitated the minds of the court time and again regarding the consequences on the conversions and reconversions. Suppose if the persons belong from the scheduled castes or scheduled tribes, and if they get converted into the other religions, then definitely in that case, after their conversions to other religions, he or she will not be entitled to claim any kind of reservations benefit which is originally available to them. But if that persons again decide to reconvert back to their original fold, then the issue will arise whether after reconversion such person will be entitled to claim the benefit of reservations or not. This issue has directly arisen before the Supreme Court in Principals Guntur Medical College versus Y. Roham Rao case in 1976. And in this case, the issue before the court was whether the persons belonging to the Christians convert who originally belongs to the scheduled caste on reconversions to Hinduism can claim the benefit of reservations of seat under Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution or not. What the court said in this case, that the persons whose parents belong to the scheduled caste before their conversions to Christianity could on reconversions to Hinduism be regarded as member of the scheduled caste only if he was accepted as a member of that caste by other member of the caste. So on the reconversions back to the original fold, he will be entitled to claim benefit reservations provided he is being taken back by his own caste and community and he is taken in the original fold. So once he has been accepted as a member of that caste, then he will be entitled to claim the benefit reservations which was originally available to them before converting to other religions. Other issue which pertains regarding if the high caste girl marrying from the persons of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, whether after such marriage he or she will be entitled to claim benefit of reservations or not. With respect to that, the Supreme Court has clarified that on the high caste girls marrying from the persons of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes will not be entitled to claim the benefit reservations which might be available to their husband. Of course, their progeny, their offspring will be entitled to claim the benefit because here the paternity will be determined on the basis of the caste of their father. And this issue has directly arisen before the Supreme Court in Dr. Nilima versus Deans of PG Studies, Andhra Pradesh Agriculture University in 1993 before the Supreme Court. And in this case, Supreme Court clarified that the high caste girl marrying a boy belonging to scheduled caste is not entitled to benefit reservations available to the scheduled tribes. So this is the way how the Supreme Court has interpreted the Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution. With respect to Article 15, one more thing which has agitated the minds of the court time and again regarding that how the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes status has to be determined, whether it has to be determined on the basis of the state of the origin or the state where he has subsequently migrated. Because it might be possible that the persons belonging to the list of the scheduled caste in that particular state and their caste may also be in the list of that state scheduled caste. So naturally the question arises whether the such persons who after their migration from one state to other state will also be entitled to claim the benefit of reservations which are available for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes or not. With respect to that, the court has clarified that only in the state of the origins the persons of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes will be entitled to claim the benefit reservations. They will not entitled to claim the benefit reservations in the other state where he has subsequently migrated. Because when I am saying the other state where he has subsequently migrated, definitely it will have the difference only with respect to the benefits which may be provided by that respective state government where he has subsequently migrated. So with respect to that, the laws is very clear that only in the state of the origin you will be entitled to claim the benefit reservations. If you migrate to this other state, then you will not entitled to claim any kind of benefit as far the service which is provided by the respective state government. If the service is being provided by the central government, then that case that issue will not arise because for that the requirement that your caste must have in the central list. So this is the way how the Article 15 Clause 4 is being interpreted. Now I am coming to the Clause 5 of Article 15. Again, this provision was not original in the Constitution. It was being added in the Constitutions It was being added in the constitutions by the Constitution's 93rd Amendment Act in 2005, and it came into effect from 26 2006. If you see the provisions of Article 15 Clause 5 of the Constitution, it said that nothing in this article or sub clause G of the clause 1 of Article 19 shall prevent the state from making any special provisions by law for advancement of any socially and educationally backward class of citizens or for scheduled caste or scheduled tribes in so far as such special provisions relate to their admission in educational institutions, including private educational institutions, whether aided or unaided by the state, other than minority educational institutions referred to in clause 1 of Article 30 of the Constitution. So, by clause 5 of Article 15 of the Constitution, which was being added by 93rd Amendment Act, here the benefit of reservations will be provided not only with respect to employment or appointment in the service, but it will also be provided with respect to admissions in educational institutions. And the one thing which is very relevant with respect to clause 5 of Article 15 regarding that the entitlement to claim benefit reservations with respect to admissions in unaided private educational institutions. The constitutionality of Article 15 clause 5 was being challenged before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has extensively examined the nature and scope of the clause 5 of Article 15 in Ashok Kumar Thakur versus Union of India case in 2008. In this case, the Supreme Court by the Chief Justice K.G. Balakrishnan had laid down the certain guidelines. The first thing with the Supreme Court said that the Constitution's 93rd Amendment Act 2006 providing 27% reservations in admissions to OBC candidate in higher educational institutions such as IIT and IIM are constitutional. However, the court left open the questions of reservations to these category to citizens in private educational institutions. The court further said that 93rd Amendment Act 2006 provided that without touching the present strength of the general category of the student, the OBC category candidate can given reservations. So, if you see the provisions of clause 5 of Article 15, it had not disturbed the total number of seats which was available for the general category candidate. So, over and above the existing seat, the additional 27% reservation was being provided by the OBC for the OBC category candidate for taking educations in institutions of the high excellence like the IIT and IIM. Further, the court said the benefit reservations cannot be made available to the creamy layer candidate, and reservations must be reviewed after every 5 years. So, as far as the creamy layer requirement is concerned, recently the government has revised the norms, and now the candidate whose income is above 6 lakh rupees, they will not be entitled to claim any kind of benefit, and they will be considered as the creamy layers. Those whose income is below 6 lakhs, they will be entitled to claim benefit of reservations, and they will not be considered as a creamy layer. As far as the entitlement of the OBC category candidate for taking admissions in the private unaided educational institution is concerned, this issue was already being resolved by the Supreme Court in PA Inamdar versus State of Maharashtra case in 2005 case, and this was the decision of the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court. So definitely these decisions will prevail over the Ashok Kumar Thakur case, because in Ashok Kumar Thakur case the Supreme Court has not expressed any opinion regarding the entitlement of the candidate of the OBC category for taking admissions in IIT and IIMs. But in the PA Inamdar case, what the Supreme Court said that neither the policy of reservations can be enforced by the state, nor any quota or percentage of admissions can be carved out to be appropriated by the state in a minority or non-minority unaided educational institutions. So, regarding the reservation policy in private educational institution is concerned, here the court has very categorically stated that the state cannot insist on private educational institutions which receives no aid from the state to implement the state policy on reservations for granting admissions or on lesser percentage of marks on the criteria, on any other criteria except merit. So, as far as the private unaided educational institution is concerned, they are not bound by the any kind of dictate of the governments, and they are not required to reserve any kind of the seat for the candidate belonging from the OBC category. But as far as the government institutions are concerned, after the 93rd Amendment Act, after the clause 5 of Article 15 of the Constitution, government will be justified to provide additional seats over and above the seats which might be available for the general category of the candidate. And this is the provisions which was subject to the various kind of the criticism as well as the appreciations by the various constitutional expert. As far as the Mandal judgment is concerned, in Mandal judgment the Supreme Court has very categorically stated that no reservations can be made with respect to the Institute of Excellence, that is the Institute of the IIT or IIMs. But this Mandal finding was being tried to nullified, or their scope was being tried to be circumvented by the Parliament by enacting the Article 15 clause 5 of the Constitution. Because if you see the provisions of the reservation is concerned, if you see the provisions of Article 334 of the Constitution, under Article 334 of the Constitution, what is being originally provided by the Constitution's maker, originally the Constitution's maker had intended that this policy of reservations will continue initially for the 10 years, and after 10 years all sections of society will be assimilated and there will be no requirement of any kind of the preferential treatment for any section of society. But somehow the situations had not improved and the government had decided to amend these provisions, amend the Article 334, and by the Constitution 45th Amendment Act, the word 10 year was being replaced by the term 45 years. Again, by the Constitution 79th Amendment Act, the term 30 year was being replaced by the term 60 years, and again by the Constitution's 95th Amendment Act, the term 60 year is being sought to be replaced by the Parliament for the 70 years. So it is only after the expiry of the 70 years from the framing of the constitutions, the Parliament will have the opportunity to relook the existing constitutional provisions regarding the reservations for the benefit of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, as well as for socially and educationally backward class citizens, as far as the Article 15 clause 4 as well as the Article 16 clause 4 is concerned. So after this, now I am moving towards the Article 16 of the Constitution. Now come to the Article 16 of the Constitution. If you see the titles of Article 16, it provides for the equality of opportunity in the matters of public employment. First, see the basic constitutional scheme which is being provided under various clauses of Article 16 of the Constitution. If you see the clause 1 of Article 16, it says that the equality of opportunity in the matters of public employment. So what it says, that there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens in the matters of appointment to any office or any other employment under the state. So if you see the provisions of clause 1 of Article 16 of the Constitution, the first thing which you have to keep in mind regarding that to whom this right is available. Here the word which has been used by the constitution maker, that is all citizens. So naturally the rights which is being provided by clause 1 of Article 16, it is available to the citizens and it pertains to the two things, that is the appointment or employment under the state. Now come to the clause 2 of the Article 16 of the Constitution. It says that no citizen shall be discriminated against or be ineligible for any employment or office under the state on the grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth or residence. So if you compare the clause 2 of Article 16 vis-a-vis the clause 1 and 2 of Article 15 of the Constitution, here you will find the two additional ground which is not being provided by Article 15, that is being added under Article 16 clause 2 of the Constitution, and these two new grounds which is being added by the clause 2 of Article 16, that is the descent and residence. So if all qualifications are equal, then that case religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth or residence cannot be considered a criteria for giving any kind of preferential treatment or denying any kind of the benefit which the person is entitled to receive. So the clause 1 and 2, this is the general provisions, but the clause 3, 4, 4a, 4b and 5 of the Article 16, this has been recognized as one of the exceptions to the general principle of equality and general principles of equality of opportunity, which is being provided by Article 16 clause 1 and 2 of the Constitution. If you see the clause 3 of Article 16 of the Constitution, originally it was also not in the Constitution, it was being added in the Constitutions by the Constitution's 7th Amendment Act. And what it provided that the Parliament, it empowered the Parliament to make a law prescribing residence within the state as a qualifications for appointment to any government post or any local or other authority within the state or union territory in regard to the class or class of employment. So under these provisions, here the Parliament has been given the power, and the Parliament will be empowered to provide that with respect to the certain class of employment, in addition to the other qualifications, you also need to have the additional qualifications with respect to the being a resident of that particular state. Now I am coming to the clause 4 of the Constitution. It enables the state to make a provisions for reservation of posts in government job in favor of any backward class of citizen which in the opinion of the state is not adequately represented under the service under the state. So clause 4 of Article 16 provide for reservation in government job for any backward class of citizens. Clause 4A of the clause 4A of Article 16 is concerns. Again, this provision was originally not in the Constitution. It was being added in the Constitutions by the Constitution's 77th Amendment Act in 1995, and it empowered the state to make any provision for reservations in matter of promotions for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes which in the opinion of the state are not adequately represented in the service under the state. If you see the clause A of Article 16 is concerns, this was being added by the 77th Amendment Act, and this provision was again revised by the Constitution's 85th Amendment Act, by which here the word in the matter of promotions to any class are being replaced by the word in the matter of promotions with consequential seniority to any class. So now see the how this clause A of Article 16 was being interpreted. Here it provide for not only for reservations, but it also provide for reservations in promotions with consequential seniority. And the constitutionality of this provision was being challenged before the Supreme Court in UP Power Corporation Limited versus Rajesh Kumar case, and in this case the Supreme Court had struck down these provisions where the state government had decided to provide the benefit of reservations not only in initial appointment but also in the subsequent promotions. What the Supreme Court stated in the UP Power Corporation versus Rajesh Kumar case is that before providing benefit of reservations in promotions, the state must demonstrate backwardness, inadequacy of representations and maintenance of efficiency before providing reservation promotions. So the Supreme Court said that you must come out with the clear statistical data and you must prove that they are still backward, they have the inadequacy in representations, and the providing reservation in promotion is not something which is going to affect the efficiency of administration, because you always have to keep you have to keep in mind the provisions of Article 334 of the Constitution, because Article 334 of the Constitution clearly mandate that before providing any benefit reservations, you also keep in mind that this kind of reservation is not going to affect the efficiency of administrations. And here the Supreme Court has, the Parliament has not taken this judgment in very light manners, and the Parliament has decided to circumvent the scope of this judgment by introducing the Constitution's 117th Amendment Bill. And by this Amendment Bill, here the legislature has seeks to replace Article 16 Clause 4A, which will enable the state to provide promotion quota for SC and scheduled caste and scheduled tribes with a new formulations that would render irrelevant the need to prove backwardness and inadequacy in service, and it also seeks to insulate the promotions quota from effect of Article 334, 335 of the Constitutions, which provide for that the quota policy should not adversely affect the efficiency of administrations. So here this case the parliament has already taken the initiative, and the parliament had decided to introduce the constitution's 170th amendment bill, by which this promotion reservations will continue after if it is being enacted by the parliament. As far the the decision is concerned, definitely before this article clause 4 of the constitution is concerned, the clause 4 of article 16 is concerned, it was being added by the constitution 1995 amendment act, and before that in Indira Sahni versus Union of India, that is the Mandal judgment, the Supreme Court has struck down this provisions for the providing reservation promotions. What the Supreme Court in Mandal judgment has said, that the reservations will be available only at the time of initial appointment, and it will not be available in the subsequent promotions. Then now I am coming to the Article 16 clause 4b of the Constitution. Originally it was also not in the Constitution. It was being added by the 81st Amendment Act in 2000, and it seeks to end the 50% limit for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward classes in backlog vacancies which could not be filled up due to non-availability of eligible candidate of these category in the previous year or years. If you see the Mandal judgment, Supreme Court had said that each year's vacancy has to be considered only in that years, and the limit of reservations should not exceed the 50%. But if you see the clause 4b of Article 16 of the Constitution, if in a particular year, if the sufficient number of the candidate of the SC, ST or OBC category are not available, then the corresponding number of the seat will be carried forward to the next academic years, and it will be made available to from the next academic year. So if the backlog vacancy is being carried forward, so it may happen that in next year, because of the additions of the backlog vacancy, the total number of seats which will be reserved for the reserve category candidate may go beyond the limit of 50%. So this is the something which the Parliament had decided to circumvent the finding of the Mandal judgment, where the Supreme Court has advised to maintain this limit of 50%, that only up to 50% seat will be reserved for the reserve category, and the rest 50% seat will be in the general categories. So now come to now I am coming details the various provisions of Article 16. If you see the main object of Article 16 of the Constitution, it create a constitutional right to equality of opportunity in appointment as well as employment in the public service. So as far as this right is concerned, it is available to citizens, and it pertains to the employment as well as appointment. As far as this provision is concerned, it is a merely enabling provisions, and it empowers the state to take affirmative actions. It do not impose any kind of obligations to take actions. So it purely depends upon the discretion of the state either to take actions or not to take actions. As far as the interpretations of clause 1 of Article 16 is concerned, we have the case of Pandurang versus Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commissions, where in this case the petitioner was a lawyer in some district of the state, and he was also an applicant for the post of district munsif under the state judicial service. But what is being prescribed by the order, that only the person who is practicing before the Andhra Pradesh High Court, they will be eligible to apply. Here the Supreme Court has struck down this provision that there is no rational nexus, because if any persons who is practicing anywhere in that particular state, they can have the knowledge of the local language. So merely adding this qualification that you must practice before the Andhra Pradesh High Court, it is not based on any rational principles. So after this Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commission case, again in CB Muthamma versus Union of India, the Supreme Court has occasions to examine the scope of clause 1 of Article 16. Here in this case, a provision, the service rule requiring the female employee to obtain the permission of the government in writing before her marriage is solemnized, and denying her the right to promote it on the ground that she is being married woman was held to be discriminatory against the woman, and it was declared as unconstitutional. However, in this case, the Supreme Court has cautioned that the men and women are not equal in all occupations, and depending upon the service requirement, the special or preferential treatment can be given to the women. Then other things which pertains to Article 16 Clause 1 of the Constitutions regarding that the concept of equal pay for equal work, the issue which has arisen before the court regarding, and this question is also being asked in the various examinations, whether you have the fundamental right of equal pay for equal work or not. This case has directly arisen in Randhir Singh versus Union of India case in 1982, where the Supreme Court said that the equal pay for equal work, although not expressly declared to be a fundamental right, but definitely it is a constitutional goal under Article 14, 16 as well as under Article 39 Clause D of the Constitution, and it can be enforced by the court in case of unequal scale of pay based on irrational classifications. And if you see how it has been applied virtually after its constant applications, now the concept of equal pay for equal work has almost acquired the status of fundamental right, but as far as the constitutional provision is concerned, it is merely a constitutional goal under Article 14, 16 and Article 39 Clause D of the Constitution. As far as the equal pay for equal work is concerned, in the same cadre you can have the different pay scale depending upon the kind of works, depending upon the natures of the work which is being performed by the employee as well as their responsibility. If the person has joined the service at the same point of time, they have the same designations, but if the responsibility of the persons are different, if they are supposed to perform or undertake the duty of high responsibility, then that case they will be entitled to claim higher scale of pay, and it will not be violative of Article 14, 16 as well as Article 39 Clause D of the Constitution. Now I am coming to the Clause 2 of Article 16 of the Constitution. It provides that the no citizens can be discriminated against or ineligible for employment or office under state on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth or residence. With respect to Clause 2 of the Article 16 concerns, you have to keep in mind that only two new conditions which is not available under Article 15 is being added, that is the descent or residence. Then Clause 3 of the Article 16 concerns which empower the Parliament to make a law prescribing residence within the state as a qualifications, and under this provisions Parliament has enacted a specific law, that is the Public Employment Requirement as to Residence Act in 1957, and this act provides that no one will be disqualified on the ground that one is not the resident of particular state. However, this act has made exceptions for the employment in state of Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura and Telangana, but this exception was initially for the 5 years because of the peculiar backwardness of this state. As far as the interpretation of this provision is concerned, if a state has provided that you must be resident of that state, then it must pertain to the entire state. It cannot be confined only to the particular part of the state. So if the suppose government has come out with the regulations and provide that with respect to this particular kind of service, only the person residing say in the Telangana regions, they will be entitled to claim benefit. So state will not be empowered to carve out the Telangana regions. If the qualification has to be provided, then it pertains to the entire Andhra Pradesh. So this kind of exclusivity or demarcation is not possible. If the classification has to be provided, then it must pertain to the entire state. It cannot pertain to any particular part of the state. Now I am coming to the most contentious issue, that is the Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution. As far as the Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution, I will take up these provisions along with the Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution. What I said under Article 15 Clause 4 of the Constitution, it empowered the state to make a special provision for advancement of any socially and educationally backward class of citizens as well as for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And if you see the provisions of Clause 4 of Article 16 of the Constitution, it empowered the state to make a special provisions for reservations for appointment of post in favor of any backward class of citizens which in the opinion of the state are not adequately represented in the service under the state. As far as the interpretations of Article 15 Clause 4 and Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution is concerned, various contentious issue has cropped up before the court. I have divided those contentions into the 5 parts. The first is what is the basis on which the policy of compensatory discriminations is being authorized by Article 15 Clause 4 and Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution. Second, the provisions of compensatory discriminations is how much compatible with formal equality which insist upon uniform standard of competitions and selections. Third, who is socially and educationally backward class. Fourth, what is the limit of reservations. And fifth, what will be the sociological implications of reservations policy which is being provided by clause 4 of Article 15 as well as Article 16 of the Constitution. Now I am taking up the first two issues regarding the basis of the compensatory discriminations and how much it is compatible with the concept of formal equality. If you see how the Constitution was being framed by the Constitution's maker, if you see the Constituent Assembly debate part, then the Constituent Assembly that drafted the Constitution of India has established the general principle of compensatory discriminations as directive principle of state policy. So, specific provisions authorizing the compensatory discriminations for mitigations of the historic inequality were set up as exceptions to the general theme of the formal equality. And this exception principle authorizing the state to depart from the merit principles represented as empowerment of the state to pursue the concept of substantive equality with respect to those who are the victim of historic injustice. So, as far the compensatory discrimination is concerned, the Constituent Assembly, what is being said that the certain sections of the Hindu caste are being considered untouchable, they are being exploited. So, just to ensure the social assimilations of those sections of society in national mainstream, just to undo the historic injustice which was being practiced by few to many, here the system of compensatory discrimination is being provided by clause 4 of Article 15 as well as clause 4 of Article 16 of the Constitution. As far as the compatibility with formal equality is concerned, one of the argument which was being put forward that when there is a social need for rapid and substantial integrations and representations of the certain specified identified disadvantaged group in the national mainstream is concerned, the membership of such group can itself be part of one's own merit. So, mere on the basis of the membership, mere on the basis of or on the basis of assessment of the need for the integrations and representations, these class can itself be considered separate class and they will be entitled to claim the preferential treatment. The other justification with respect to reservations that is being provided that the compensatory discriminations scheme involve the enlargement of the basis of selections to include other criteria along with the productivity presumably measured by the merit, that is the representations, integration, stimulation and so forth. So, the kind of argument which is being provided for providing the preferential treatment for the persons belonging from the backward class as well as for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes is concerned. In Indian social setting, definitely there is a clear constitutional and national goal to follow the policy of group concept of proportional equality, and this group concept of proportional equality provided the system reservations on the basis of their population strength. And this on the basis of the population strength, this kind of the preferential treatment was being also being justified because mere provisions of the formal equality will not be sufficient to bring about the desired equality. So therefore, Article 15 clause 4 and Article 16 clause 4 of the Constitutions are meant to authorize the state to pursue the concept of substantive equality vis-a-vis the certain specified historic social categories who were the victims of the past discriminations. So here the the system of the preferential treatment is not at all meant for the economic empowerment. It is merely intended to ensure the social assimilations to all sections of society in the national mainstream. As far the definitely the concerns of the persons of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are different. The concerns of the persons belonging to from the backward class are different. As far the concerns of the persons of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes is concerned, their main concern is the social assimilation in the national mainstream. As far the persons of the backward class is concerned, the main concern is their ensuring their social and educational backwardness. Now I am coming to the interpretation aspect as to how the clause 4 of Article 15 and Article 16 was being interpreted by the Supreme Court. The first case which I have discussed along with the Article 15 clause 4 is the Balaji case. In this case, the Supreme Court has laid down the certain guidelines. The first guidelines was the sub-classifications made by the order between the backward class and most backward class was not justified under Article 15 clause 4 of the Constitutions. And second, the backwardness as envisaged by Article 15 clause 4 must be both social and educational and not either social or educational. Third, though the caste may be relevant factors, but it cannot be a sole criteria. Poverty, occupations, place of habitations, etc. has to be considered before classifying the caste who will be entitled to claim the benefit of under Article 15 clause 4 of the Constitutions. And the fourth, the Article 15 clause 4 does not speak of the caste but only speak of the class, and caste and class are not synonymous. And fifth, the special provisions should be less than 50%, and how much less of 50% that would depend upon the prevailing circumstances. Then in Balram case, Supreme Court has advised to review the system reservations, and if any particular caste has achieved the certain level of progress or certain degree of progress, then that case the government will be justified to delete that caste from intended beneficiary of reservations. But the important case, that is the State of Kerala versus N.M. Thomas case, where some of the finding of the Thomas case is being approved by the Supreme Court in Mandal judgment, and some of the finding of the Thomas case is being disapproved by the Supreme Court in Mandal judgment. In N.M. Thomas case, the issue before the Supreme Court was whether it was permissible to give preferential treatment to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes under clause 1 of Article 16 outside the clause 4 of Article 16 of the Constitution. In this case, 7 judgments of the Supreme Court by majority of 5:2 held that classification of the employee belonging to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes for allowing them extended period of 2 years for passing test of promotions from other class of employee was just and reasonable classification. Because what the court said that if the 2 extended years has been given to the person belonging from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and if they have ultimately cleared the test, then definitely it means they have achieved that degree of intellectual depth or that degree of advancement. So this kind of the extended period benefit will not be violative of clause 4 as well as the clause 4 of Article 15 as well as the clause 4 of Article 16 of the Constitutions. Now I am coming to the most important case, that is the Indira Sahni versus Union of India. This case is popularly known as Mandal judgment. This case was decided by the Supreme Court in year 1993. But before that, I am just giving you the fact of this case, how this case has came into being. In this case, the government of India, headed by the Prime Minister Dr. B.P. Singh, he issued an official memorandum on August 13, 1990, reserving 27% of seat for the backward class in the government service on the basis of recommendations of the Mandal Commission, which was given way back in 1980. The moment this announcement was being made by the B.P. Singh government, here the nation was subject to turmoil. I think we are running against the time. I will take up the factual aspect of this case along with the detailed examinations of nature and scope of Article 16 Clause 4 in my tomorrow lectures. Thank you.